Hi, 7th graders. Today we're going to talk about the road to the American Revolution and the first major cause of that war, the French and Indian War, which is going to be the first domino that sets forward many, many different events that eventually lead to the War of Independence. Today we're going to analyze the factors that led to the increased tensions between the European powers in North America before the French and Indian War. Back in 5th grade, you learned about explorers and the beginning of imperialism and colonialism. And you learned explorers like Columbus and Magellan and Cabot started going to different parts of North America, South America, the Caribbean, and claiming them for different countries. This led forward to a huge race for dominion meaning land and power, between different powers of Europe. Spain and Portugal were the first to start claiming territory in the Americas, which gave them a big edge, and hence why we see Spanish-held possessions in Mesoamerica, the western half of South America, Central America, and several islands in the Caribbean. The Portuguese were able to take control of the eastern part of South America, hence why we see Brazil still speaking Portuguese today. The French and the British and the Dutch were all later to the game, and were looking for what territories left over. The French arrived next, and they are able to take the Mississippi River, most importantly the port of New Orleans, and also the St. Lawrence River, which gives them access to the Great Lakes. So the French have a huge amount of territory. The British are just left with the leftovers, this small little sliver here that stretches along the Atlantic coast from present-day Maine to present-day Georgia. And they don't have a lot of land, but what they got was probably the best land in settling in North America at that time period. The French got more land, but they made less use of it. The British got less land and made more use of it. And we're going to see that the British population in North America is going to rise really quick, building those colonies that we talked about in the last unit. Whereas New France's population is going to stay pretty low, at least of French colonists. There's still plenty of Native Americans that live in those areas. But the British colonies are going to increase with large cities, large farms, large populations. And there's more and more of a desire of the American colonists to get even more cheap land that they can use and build even more farms and cities on. This leads many British colonists, also known as Americans, to start looking west of the Appalachian Mountains, outside of British-controlled territory, to have more land that they can use and build farms and cities on. And a really desirable tract of land was in the Ohio River Valley. The Ohio River Valley stretches in parts of present-day Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, so on and so forth. And the Ohio River itself makes much of the boundaries in between these states. The Ohio River is a tributary connecting to the Mississippi River, and it produces a very large fertile area for farming. So the people in the British colonies and along the eastern colonies see, wow, there's tons of undeveloped land, tons of resources that can be turned into arable farmland with river access. We can make a lot of money off of this. And Americans start moving into this Ohio River Valley. Well, if you're French, you're like, that's not cool. You're moving into my land, my territory. Even though a lot of us don't live there, it's still ours. We're not cool with you moving on it, especially the British, who we hate. And if you're the natives that live in this area, and you know that the British pushed the natives that were living in the Atlantic coast out of their land and treated them horribly, you also don't want the British moving into these areas. So we see that this leads to increasing tensions over that Ohio River Valley. That's the big thing that really pushes the tensions towards a breaking point. So the exit card for this lesson was, what area did British colonists start settling in the 1750s, and why does this lead to increased tensions with France? Post up your answer on Google Classroom. I look forward to reading it. Thank you.